And let's just draw off on the inspiration for a moment here, Doc, of the first 7 years, because, the reason we're talking with Dr. Brown today on the concept and topic of why sleep is so critical is what inspired you really to get the message out there. And that is, in this context of newborn that we're discussing, but really the first 7 years, brain development. Tell us about this and why.
I mean, this really goes back to why we call this the first 7 years. I mean, we understand, by 7 years of age, from birth to 7, the child's brain has grown 95% of the adult size. So those first 7 years, we've pretty much built our hardware of the most important organ. Anything that happens through that time developmentally is going to affect how that brain develops, how it's going to function for the rest of their life. So perhaps that can lead us into, what is happening neurodevelopmentally in the brain during those first few years.
Yeah, no. So that is so true. 95%. It's incredible. Yeah. So during sleep, you have quite a wide variety of things going on, right? We talked about the synaptic processes going on. We talk about emotion regulation as well, especially during REM sleep. They have emotion regulation. They have executive function development. During deep sleep, we're usually talking about memory consolidation, learning new skills, being able to process emotions. So all those things are skills that they're learning right from that age. Growth hormone production is also occurring, specifically with deep sleep. So a lot of these processes are going to impact them all their lives. And so I think this is just really important to say when you talk about the foundation, setting that healthy foundation right from the start, because what we do now is going to be what will impact them for the rest of their lives.
For sure. And you speak about a lot of stuff there, executive mood behavior, regulation of, mood and so forth. But then I heard you say synaptic connection. Synaptic connection is really about nerves forming new connections and therefore not just memories, but also unlearning certain things, right? I mean, new formations are as important. So tell us a little bit about the importance of sleep for neuroplasticity and what that means.
Without adequate sleep, you really don't get that brain pruning, right? And so that is just so critical. It is so important. So during sleep, during the different, specifically, you're going through different stages. You're going through light sleep, which is stage 1, we call it, and stage 2. We're going through deep sleep, which is stage 3. And then REM sleep really is around where you do. Most people think REM sleep is the most important, but I usually will say every stage of sleep is critical, right?
Architecture.
So, that entire architecture is all so important. And so these processes, and, when it comes to sleep itself, it's interestingly enough, this is something we've done the entirety of our lives, but we're really discovering more and more research around it. And not one thing that was recent, not we, but within the sleep community discovered was the way these processes work. And we have this glymphatic systems. So that is glymphatic, so G lymphatic. So similar to our bodies where we have the lymphatic system that helps with filtration of waste products and content and things like that. With the glymphatic system, you are actually getting more of a cleansing, as I would say, of products that are building off on the brain over the period of wakefulness. So if you don't have deep sleep, those glymphatic channels are not properly optimized. And as a result of that, we have the buildup of all these processes. And some of the products on there this is fantastic. Some of the products on there are things like beta amyloid, for instance. I mean, we've seen more of research on this more in adults, but we can only extrapolate to say that it's definitely impacting children as well significantly. So when we talk about memory problems, when we talk about, potential development of Alzheimer's and things like that, these are products on the surface of the brains of people that have this condition that can contribute to it.
Absolutely.
What are some of those additional things? I mean, you talk a lot about this in your lectures of the first 7 years. I've heard it. What are those things that are blocking or even impeding the ability of the child's, brain detox pathways?
Sure. So a little bit before we went looking at microbiome, so I'll bring that part in too now. but understanding the gut-brain connection. So the microbiome here is actually producing a lot of those neurotransmitters that the brain functions on. The brain has its own blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
So if you have any sort of compromised microbiome, intestinal permeability, you can also have brain-blood barrier permeability. And that really opens up the brain. It's the only organ that has its own special immune system to actually keep out all of these things that will be detrimental. But if we don't, or if we understand how important that is, then we can look after the microbiome. At the same time, we're looking after the blood-brain barrier and helping prevent anything that shouldn't get into the brain get there. And at the same time, that immune system is also, the brain immune system, also helping to cleanse the brain during that sleep at night. Yeah.
Kids get sick. They have colds and flus, and that's good. An immune system is developing. We're born into the world with an innate immune system, and then we have to learn, and that's an adaptive immune system. What are some of the considerations parents should keep in mind when their children are sick and they give them certain medications that will disrupt sleep and or affect sleep in different ways? What kind of advice do you have, especially for the first, 2 or 3 years old?
Yeah, I think a robust immune system, depending on what kind of illness they have, right? If they have a cold, a robust immune system with the right amount of, usually more conservative support is sufficient with good sleep. And what you will notice, like even us as adults, when you're sick, what do you want to do? You want to sleep more.
It takes a lot of energy to kick the butt of a virus or bacteria, let me tell you.
Exactly. So sometimes there are, certain medications, for instance, some of these antihistamines, or, medications that contain things like pseudoephedrine. Those kind of things can be very disruptive, actually, to sleep architecture. Right. And so if the sleep architecture is disrupted, you're not getting maybe enough deep sleep or things like that. That may impact the quality of sleep and can affect the immune system for sure.
Right. How about CNS depressants or things like dextromethorphan? Because that was implicated for a while in SIDS as well, I think, was it not? Suppressing cough reflex and so forth is probably not a good idea.
No, because so just like, when you have a cold, when you have a cough, when you have what we call maybe bronchorrhea, right? Increased secretions, the innate immune system knows what to do. Right. A cough is a defense mechanism. So suppressing the cough is impacting the body's ability to actually do what it's supposed to do, or clear the symptoms. Yeah. Just like even for people who have, for instance, asthma, right? They may cough a lot. They may wheeze a lot. The goal is not to suppress the cough. You may want to give them a bronchodilator so that, their chest is not as tight and things like that. But we want to make sure that we're not masking symptoms or actually impacting the body's ability to do what it's supposed to do.
Well, luckily we are in the house of one of the masters of this phenomenon, getting the body to do better on its own what it should do, nature provided. Sleep is probably at the top of your list for establishing a healthy immune system of all of the first 7 years of life. But just real quick, what are some of the other things that we can advise parents to include in their children's, supplement, routine, diet, lifestyle for a robust immune system?
Sure.
Right?
So again, I'll go back. A healthy microbiome is also the root of a healthy immune system, just in the same way that good sleep is. In terms of what we can give externally to help the immune system, and for infants, normally I would recommend after a baby starts eating solid foods, they can actually start supplementing if the parent chooses to. But obviously, number one for the immune system, this has been from the time of Linus Pauling, vitamin C. Number one, antioxidant immune protection. And then you have other things like, the colostrum. If a child's immune system hasn't developing properly, you can use the colostrum to help encourage that, or maybe they missed out on the colostrum at the beginning of life. And then, we just look at the other basic nutrients. So vitamin D3, the sunshine vitamin, critically important for the respiratory and the immune system. And also the omega-3, the fatty acids, not just important for the brain, which also is going to help the sleep in some way, but also as an anti-inflammatory, helping to provide what the body needs that way too. So vitamin C, vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids.